Hello, everybody. It is I, your host of the Mission Possible Life podcast, Jeremy Poole, and we are back at it again with episode 3, 10,000 Hours to Mastery, Building Habits Through Consistency and Commitment. On this episode, we will be discussing how habits are formed and then what habits you can create to build or continue in your healing journey or a journey of overall wellness and well-being in your life. First off, I'd like to start just by talking about these things, habits. Habits are these things we do not think about. They are behaviors that we engage with because we have shown repetition to a behavior over time, and now they come about us in knee-jerk ways. How are habits formed? Well, habits are formed when a new behavior is enacted with minimal conscious awareness. Just as I said before, when you continue to do something over and over and over again, it becomes easier to engage with that behavior. What are the habits really? Well, what we do over an extended period of time, it's etched into our neural pathways. This is why this episode is called 10,000 Hours to Mastery. And what I've seen working with people in the field of addiction as a drug and alcohol counselor, I've seen that it is easy to start a change process, but the hardest part of any habit building or change process is actually the maintenance. Because a lot of us feel that once we start, we should be able to just continue to engage with it without any work. And this is just a very poor way to actually look at building a habit. Why 10,000 hours to mastery? I don't actually know if that's the actual correct time to build a habit or to build a skill set of mastery. But what I do know is the greatest people in their fields are people that are willing to put the repetition and the time necessary so they do not have to think about these things, and it becomes second nature. There are people that are born with God-given talents, for sure. We've all experienced it, from great singers to great athletes to great people in their field of study, thought leaders. But the truth is, even a God-given talent without practice and repetition becomes a wasted talent. That's why this episode, again, is really about the habits. How do we form them? How do we hold on to them? And how can we use habits that we've already established to help continue and build newer habits? And that's called habit stacking. When we begin to engage with new habits, we got to realize that in psychology, they say there's 3 aspects of a habit. There's the cue, which is the same thing, the same time, the same place. There's the behavior, right? And when we're talking about building newer habits, these behaviors are new to us. They're something that we may not have any experience with. And I'll break that down a little bit, because my feeling is that there's 3 levels of learning, and that also has to deal with the habits. And then there's the reward. We get something from engaging in behavior. Sometimes it's inherent, and other times it's attached to the behavior. There's something you should know. Maladaptive habits are also a part of some of the things we're trying to change in our lives. If you're in a healing journey, most of us have engaged with maladaptive habits. Talk to a former addict. The cue was any psychological pressure, any friction, any moment of disconnection. That was the cue, right? It could be in a different environment, but most of mine was emotional cues that I was aware of. The behavior, engage in addiction, use substances. The reward, I actually didn't have to think about it. I thought that numbing my experience was giving me the weight lifted off my shoulders, not realizing that I was just stacking my problems in a corner and trying to unconsciously or even consciously act like they weren't there. When we're beginning to realize a habit deals with a cue, the same thing, the same place, the same time, this can sometimes be the environment, right? I can tell you just from my own experience in building a mind, body, soul, and relationships or community routine of habits, the environment for me is very important. I'm somebody that usually likes to get his workouts done early in the morning. I've I've been on the back end of that where I used to work out at night, and I would just try to find the time that was best for me. If that's the cue, the time and the place, this is the gym, this is where the habits form, the behaviors, exercise, the reward. For me, it was attached to the why. And that's why I actually followed this episode with the prior episode of defining your why. Because defining your why actually gives us the place of commitment and allows us to find the consistency necessary to continue to build upon these ideas that we have in our life. I'm somebody that feels motivation is fleeting, and motivation is truly conditional. It's based on the circumstances. It's based on things working perfectly. I'm feeling okay. I have identified what I want, and I feel a positive influence pushing me in that direction. And I can tell you, if you're waiting for motivation, it can be very difficult to actually build habits. One of the things that I actually use as a tool for individuals is always to find the thing that is reachable. Small attainable steps get us to goals of greatness in our life. Small attainable steps. What is reachable for you? I've worked with somebody in the past where they wanted to start to engage in some of the body routines of building a healthier lifestyle through exercise. There was somebody that didn't have the time, wasn't comfortable with exercise, really actually had a negative emotional reaction to exercise. What we worked on was what is reachable. Can you go to the gym and not even work out? Can you just go to the gym for 5 minutes, maybe walk around, check out the machines, see how people are using them? And I know this might sound weird, but once a routine is built, it's actually easier to enhance the habit that we are creating versus trying to go all out. And that's the maintenance aspect of a habit, right? A lot of people think that, oh, I'm going to start working out, so I'm going to go 5 days a week, and this should be easy for me. And that's actually extremely challenging. If you're somebody who hasn't been to the gym in years, how would you think that it's just going to be that easy to access a habit or access a routine through doing something that is not only physically grueling, but there's an emotional state of these habits that we will explore. The cue, again, the same thing, same time, same place. I want you to really focus on what your cues are when we're starting to build new habits. And when we're talking about a wellness or a journey of healing, I think that's where we can rely on the why. And if you hadn't listened to the last episode, I strongly encourage you to do so, because developing a why for each area of your life can help us hold on to the commitment that is necessary to be consistent. Without commitment, if I'm waiting for motivation, I already said motivation is conditional. It's easy to go on a jog on a sunny day when the birds are chirping. David Goggins wrote about this in his book, You Can't Hurt Me. Will I have the same commitment when there's a blizzard outside? Will I have the same commitment in a hurricane to go put the miles in that I said I needed to? And if you define your why, you're going to reach that door, and what are you going to do? You're going to turn around, you're going to put on the clothes necessary to go obtain this goal or these ideas that you have for your life. And the goals, again, I really want us to stay away from goals, because I believe the habits that we build are the tools that we use to get to these places that we want in our life. What is the reachable behavior? You just heard me say that I worked with an individual that wanted to start working out, and we committed to 5 minutes in the gym daily for 6 months. That's the behavior. That is the behavior. The reward was that he was learning how to show up for himself. This was a reward that was attached to the behavior. This was a reward that he saw no matter what. He was committed to show up to the gym each and every day for 5 minutes. After 6 months, it got easier for him to start asking for different workout routines, different plans, different ideas that he could utilize in the gym. But once the habit was built, once he had the ability to show up, it was easier to build on that. And today he's somebody that has a life of overall wellness in that area, right? He's somebody that as we learn about these stacking habits, he's somebody that started to engage with different routines, different behaviors, because he was able to show up for himself for those 5 minutes. Now that we really went over how to formulate, how to start to build, we talked about more of the environmental, but the emotional cues are important, especially for people that struggle. Most individuals that struggle with addiction, that struggle with trauma, that struggle with more of the mental or psychological aspects of life, the cues that create the maladaptive habits of us avoiding, us running away, us not believing that we could walk through these fears that we have, they stem in these emotional processes, right? And this is where you can even start to build healthier emotional habits for yourself, like learning how to sit in reflection, learning that when I'm triggered or when I'm operating in fear, I might need to sit and reflect. I might need to sit down and write a little bit. I might need to actually take a step back, pause, do a progressive muscle tension relaxation exercise to get myself to base level so I'm not reactive in the way that I'm thinking. And we will go over this a little bit more in depth as I talk about a journey of wellness and a journey of healing. Me specifically, anybody I work with, I try to help us see that there's 4 areas, and I like to call it the saw. If any of you guys haven't heard the saw analogy, well, here it is. There's 2 men that go to cut wood each and every day. One man, he just goes right away and he starts hacking at the trees. The next man spends about an hour sharpening his saw. He makes sure that each blade is has a level of precision that he can use his instrument correctly. And this is the way that I like to help people see that when we are sharpening all areas of our saw, when we need the tool, it's easier to access for us. This all ties into this overall episode and what we're truly talking about today. When I can practice mind, body, spirit, and for me, the community and relationships is such a huge part, but it's one of the aspects of my own life, and me being completely transparent, it's the part that I struggle with the most. It's easy for me at this time in my life because I believe in the me versus me theory for myself. I believe in it. I believe the only person standing in my way at any time is myself, my attitude, my belief system, and my values. With that being said, I can engage in mind, body, and spirit in a very personal way. I don't need somebody to go to the gym with me to take care of body. I don't need somebody to sit and do a book club to make sure that I'm getting the books that I committed to read throughout the year. And for the soul, it's about my daily gratitude list. It's being of service. It's living my mission statement, that why. That fills up my soul. And when I'm off, I know how to do the repair work necessary so I can get back to a baseline. But the community and relationships, which is a difficult part, it's about connecting with my loved ones, both my family of origin and my family of understanding, because they both hold me up. What are ways that we can start to engage in mind, body, spirit, or soul and community? Well, for mind, I love reading, which I think is a tool that most people dismiss in their lives, especially with the ease of access to read nowadays. You don't even actually have to pick up a physical book. But I truly believe most of us are getting our information from places that we're not doing any research. We're not looking into it. I hate the aspect of fact checking and using that terminology because I believe fact checking is even false. What are you doing to learn yourself? And in order to learn, I believe there's 3 stages of knowledge. The first stage is infancy. It means I have no understanding of the information given to me. This is a place that can rub people the wrong way a lot of the times. And that's because most of the times our belief systems get in the way of us hearing new information. The next stage is theoretical. Oh, I have a conceptual understanding of this idea, but I still don't know how to apply it in my life. And the last stage of knowledge is wisdom. It's a personal application of the information that you were given. And when I can start to apply this, then I can start to see that like reading is an important tool in a wellness journey. Giving yourself the time necessary to attach to new ideas creates the open-mindedness that will start to help us heal in society as a whole and individually. Writing is another tool that I think is important. And with today's technology, the beautiful thing is like, look, I don't actually have to sit and write. I could voice record, I could record a video, but documenting, it's not only for you. The beautiful thing about today is all this information will be left to the people I leave behind. My kids will always have a place to hear my voice in life. I was working with another individual, and he says one of the most meaningful things that he has is a voice recording of his dad telling him he loves him. And this was an individual that's in his 50s, right? His dad was conscious enough to say, hey, I always want to leave a piece of me that you can hear versus some of the writing. I really love the writing. I maintain journals, and I believe that's one of the greatest gifts that I'll get to pass on to my children. I see it in my mom's life. My grandmother was somebody that wrote a lot, and she maintains journals, and my mom actually has a piece of her always with her. And with mine, it's the pursuit of knowledge. And knowledge, as I broke it down, it's about getting to a place of wisdom and being able to apply ideas or be open-minded to realize, how did somebody else get to this place in their life? It's not about shifting or adjusting your belief system, but do I have space to realize there's a world of experience around me? With body, I believe there's 2 main ones. Exercise is such a vital tool to help us deal with mental health issues, to help heal parts of ourselves that we may have been damaging for years. Meditation, I believe, is body, because it's about being present. It's about learning how to be curious. I think sometimes we get confused in what meditation has to be. There's both active and passive meditation. Active meditation is what I described earlier as that progressive muscle tension relaxation exercise, where you tense your muscles and breathe out, and you're getting into an active form. Another active form of meditation is breath work. If you don't know or haven't tried any breath work, I really would suggest you looking into Wim Hof. It's the first place that I was able to feel something without putting substances in my body and get to a real calm place in my life. The soul work. The soul work it can be difficult because we're like, what do I do for my soul? Some people, it's about being out in nature. For me, the soul work that I can attach to and give as a habit that we can start to build upon is a daily gratitude list. Gratitude is a key that opens and unlocks many doors. It helps us see where we've been, where we are, and the possibilities of what can be. But it also keeps us right-sized. It allows us to realize that where I am today is not only because of the choices that I made, but the help that has been there for me for this entire journey of my life. It's easy to believe that we're self-made, but none of us started on an island. None of us are on an island with everything we need. Look, we live in a collective, and when I could save space and be in a place of gratitude, I realized that more for someone else doesn't truly mean less for me. Especially, I live in America, so this is not my truth. More for someone else is not less for me at all. And then, falling back to the last episode, it's living my mission statement. And the first 3 values of that for me is integrity, love, and compassion. Again, here's transparency. There's times that I live in fear. It happened this week for an organization that I work for, where I was in fear about where I'm at in my life, the possibilities of what this thing is, and I forgot to really be true to my mission statement. But I'm somebody that also believes in doing the repair work that's necessary, especially when we do harm to others. And then community and relationships. And for me, that's about connecting and being part of something bigger than myself. And I always find that in community. It's easy for me to engage in these things by myself. How do we start to develop those? If we've thought about the cue, find the time that you can start. Find some space in your life. This might feel like heavy work in the beginning, as building any habit can be, but find the thing that is reachable for you. Do you have time in the morning? If it's body, do you have time in the morning to go to the gym for a little bit? And again, it's starting very small and very reachable. What can you commit to? What is the idea you have for your life, right? I want to lose 15 pounds. Well, what's the system you're going to engage with to get there? I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week for a half an hour. Remove this destination from it, and if you use a system, you'll eventually get there. It's so profound to me that, like, even when we truly start to engage in the habits, it's hard to see how far we've come unless you're taking pictures or you have somebody. How many of you out there that are listening to this have had someone say, "Hey, did you do something new?" And you know that, oh yeah, I've been in the gym. I'm feeling good about myself. I'm working on my soul. I found a path in meaningful work that doesn't take me away. I found passion in my life. I'm actually able to sit with myself in a form of meditation. And I didn't talk about passive, so I'll go back there. Passive meditation is kind of what we hear, but I think people think that they have to be in a blank state. And the one thing that helped me start to really engage with passive meditation is just kind of sitting. I like to use binaural beats. You can find them on any music platform you can find them on. Guided meditations is a form of passive, even though you're having someone talk. Some of us have racing thoughts a lot, and someone to guide us through. But the one thing that truly helped me start to sit with myself and be okay was when that voice gets loud, instead of getting into a place of judgment that you're not doing this right, be curious. Because the thoughts that are going on currently and you being curious about it brings us to a present moment. Remember, if you can start to follow your breath in a form of meditation, that's the thing that you're focusing on, and it brings us to this present state. If you are in a wellness journey and you have some of these habits developed, there's this cool little hack that you can do, and this is a gem that I always try to share with the people that I work with. What are you good at right now? What comes in that place of knee jerk? What don't you have to think about when it's regarding your behavior? I work with a lot of men, so for most of them, they are in a form of exercise, or even working with other individuals or women. What part of your day is freed up? For some, it's right after work. We're like, is there a place that you feel comfortable to go sit down and start your journey of writing? But if it's on your walk home, can you use technology to your advantage, right? When we're talking about habit stacking for that individual that's exercising, if I want to start reading, instead of putting on music while I'm in the gym, put on a book. If the habit's already formed and you're not consciously thinking about, oh, I need to do this, I need to do this, I know what to do when I get there, then it's easy to actually listen and use a habit that is already formed to build another habit. And this is called habit stacking. This is one of the tools I've been able to use to get to, I'm close, I'm about to close out on book 45. I have another book in the mail, that will be 46, but that's the tool I use. I've read about 15 and I've listened to about 30 books this year. The hack for me is knowing that I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week for about an hour. If I have an Audible book, a book from Audible, that's a 5 to 6 hour, 7 hour book, it takes about a week to finish the book. And then I also use other tips and tools when I'm doing things that take less brain activity, showering or whatnot. I'll use my speaker and I'll listen to the book in the shower. My kids, they must not enjoy it, because when we're on trips for long car trips, they're listening to audiobooks with their dad. For body, that we talked about body, we talked about stacking. How do I start to meditate? Well, that one was very difficult for me. And the way that I started to learn how to apply it was knowing that the reward system was something that I started to utilize to do the things that were difficult for me at first. Before I would allow myself to go to the gym, I would tell myself I have to at least sit for 5 minutes in silence for a week. And then because I wanted to continue to take care of myself, and my why and my commitment to my exercise and my workout routine were stronger than my commitment to sitting in silence with myself, I used the gym as a reward to build this new habit. Now I'm somebody that could sit for 20, 25, 30 minutes in meditation, and I don't have to attach it to the routine anymore. I work out in the morning and I meditate before I go to sleep. This is some of the tools that you can use to build habits, to start to form new, healthier routines in your wellness journey. I hope I gave you a lot of insight. I really encourage any one of you guys to reach out to me if any of these ideas are becoming clearer to you, or you're still struggling with how to apply them. And if you need somebody to support you, because I will tell you, like I said in the last episode, I wasn't able to get to this place in my own life by myself. I believe in the community and the relationships that I have that hold me accountable. And it's easier for me when I make that claim out loud versus tell myself, oh yeah, this is why I'm gonna do it. It's like the New Year's resolutions, they hardly work. The best time, the gym sees a 300% increase in memberships and people at the gym the first of the year. And because we don't apply the maintenance and we don't give ourselves enough time, and we're motivated to do it in the beginning of the year, and then we lose the motivation, we need consistency and commitment to start to change our lives in a constructive and positive way. I know this will find the individuals seeking this information, and I like to finish every episode. First, I would like to tell you, if there's anything that you've heard that feels like you would like to connect with me further, please reach out to me on an email, J as in Jeremy, Poole as in my last name, at themissionpossiblelife.com. Feel free to check out the website. If you have any questions, you can always DM me on any social media platform, and let's connect. I'm all about this. This is about building a healing community. And if you want to be part of that healing community, again, let's connect. I would love to help and support you in any way that I can. And if nobody told you this today, from the bottom of my heart, I sincerely love each and every one of you. I'm wishing you nothing but overflow and abundance in all you do. And I'll see you again next week.